Okay, hello everybody. I wanted to just do a little video on just about being kind to mentally ill people. This is something that, of course, is okay, right? If you know somebody's suffering from something, you help them. But this is very different from when you're dealing with a narcissist or somebody along the cluster B spectrum. It doesn't matter how kind you are, you will not and you can't cure their illness. So it's like, how much do you give and how much do you endure? You have to start to question yourself on those things, because why should you be made to suffer trying to help somebody that you can't fix or cure? Meanwhile, they don't want that anyway, because in their eyes, they're perfect. So when you start to look at how much you keep giving and how much you keep changing yourself to please them, it's endless. It's insatiable. It's pretty much a bottomless well. So when you think of, oh, I have to be more kind to a person, I have to change my ways, I have to do this, I have to do that, you start to lose yourself in that process, because you're not being who you are anymore, trying to please them, which you can never do. You have to remember, with their mental illness, everything comes from a place of reactivity, and it doesn't come from a place of logic. So everything with them is a defense mechanism. So it doesn't matter what you do. If they get triggered, they get triggered. You can't explain it away. You can't make logic out of it. You can't make them see from your point of view, because they can only look from their perspective. And their perspective is the most important in the entire universe. So it's like, okay, how much do you need to do? How kind could you be? Who do you need to be kind to? Yourself. You have to be kind to yourself. You have to be compassionate to yourself, because nobody else is going to do that, especially them, because you're not number one on their list. They want to be your number one, but you're never going to be their number one. So their priority is always them. And then who's your priority? Them. And then how do you live? How do you function? These are things that you have to really ask yourself. It's like, how much are you going to put up with? How much are you going to deal with? Because in the end, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you put them through school, if you paid their bills, if you bought them the biggest engagement ring, if you're a guy. It doesn't matter. All the things that you did and have done don't count. Because when that switch goes off, you are nothing. It's hard to believe as a person who doesn't have that mental illness. It's like, well, what about all the memories? And this is what keeps you sucked in, and that's the trauma bonding. Because you latch on to those memories. You go, wow, we had such a good time. That I remember when they were like this, and I felt so in love and swept off my feet, and they were so kind and caring and compassionate, because they were mirroring you. And this is what you latch on to. And then when they do the discard, it shatters your world, because it's like, how could somebody that cared about me do such a horrible and ruthless thing, where there's no empathy, no remorse, no nothing, because they don't have that, and they can't. And this is hard for people to understand. And then it's like, you try to see what you could have done better, right? You start to ruminate. Oh, if I did this, if I would have done that, if I would have been more like this. There's no more you could have done, ever. The only thing you could do is understand this and let go, so you can finally heal, which takes time, because you have to work through the trauma and then move on. And this is radical acceptance again. So it's like, you can't love the person back to health, because they're not healthy. A personality disorder is just that, a personality disorder. It's not a chemical imbalance. So how much are you going to do to create more suffering in your life? And this is just how it is. You can't change them. You can't make them think differently. You can't bring up old memories, because remember, they replace real memories with whatever fits the narrative for them. And another thing is, it's always your fault. It's always your fault. So how could you change that? Remember, they're the victim, even if they were abusing you. So how much can your kindness really help the situation? All it could do is perpetuate it and put a lag time in your healing process. So this is something to really think about and really just sit with, where it's like, what more could you do? What more should you do? What could you have done? Nothing. These are the end results. This is why these people usually don't end up in long-term relationships. They recreate the same thing with different people. And you should love yourself enough, and you should know better at this point, where you do care enough about yourself and your well-being to understand the reality of the situation, so you can let go and move on. So hopefully this gives you some insight, and of course this is coming from my heart, because I want the best for everybody, because this is not something that, you know, it's not healthy for us to be part of, you know. And then when you're a caring, empathetic person, you get dragged down that road trying to help this person. That's impossible. Okay, thank you everybody. Love and light. I'll talk to you soon.